Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, I am joined by UConn women's hockey player Camryn Wong. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Camryn, and how's everything going?
Thank you. It's been good. I'm hunkered down at the Spedics right now, one of my teammates on at UConn, and we're just on a 5-day break for Christmas, so that's where I'm at.
Well, that's good to hear. Now, I want to start talking about your team's performance last weekend against Merrimack. You guys played fantastic. You scored 9 goals and you shut them out both games. What do you think was the key to both of those wins?
I think once we had a few games under our belt, we really worked together. Everything was flowing really well. We worked as a team the entire full 60 both games, so I think that was the big thing for us.
Yeah, and defensively, your team has been stellar all year long. What has been the secret to your team's defense this year, and what role do you think you've played in that defensive success so far?
hmm our coach always likes to say, uh, it's kind of funny. He goes, "The best defense is no defense." So if we can try our best to stay in the offensive zone, of course we're going to have time in the D zone, but making sure we're doing our layers and doing what he's telling us to do. We just kind of stick to the game plan.
Yeah, and what do you think has been the biggest improvement you made to your game so far this year?
I would have to say knowing when to rush the puck. For me, I'm an offensive defenseman, so knowing when to jump up in the play, knowing when not to, I think that's been the big change for me.
Yeah, and you also pulled off a major upset this season as well, beating Boston University. Talk about that game and how will that win help your team moving forward throughout the rest of the year?
Yeah, Boston's always been a really good team in the league. So whenever we play them, it's always been our mindset to, if we play them, to beat them. And um, yeah, it was a really good team feel for all of us.
And checking out your future schedule, you have Northeastern on the schedule to start off the new year. What do you expect from that team since they're very highly ranked?
Again, a really good team. We just got to bring our A game. Again, stick to the game plan. We're coming right off of Christmas break, so we got to kick it into gear right away.
Yeah, and looking at the second half of the schedule, what are your goals and expectations for that, and what do you want to improve on most throughout the rest of the
hmm
year?
hmm I think this season's been really different because of COVID. So really making sure that our mental game is there. Sometimes we'll just find out like, oh, we're not playing today, or actually we're going to play tomorrow morning, and just making sure we're ready to go whenever we get the chance to play.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about that. You've obviously had to make a lot of adjustments to this new season with many schedule changes and postponements. How have you mentally adjusted to those potential schedule changes and postponements, and how do
hmm
you try to stay flexible throughout that time?
hmm Yeah, it's definitely been tough. I think coming into the year in August, I think we all had that mindset of like, oh, are we going to have a season? Maybe we won't have a season. Maybe we'll all get sent home, and especially with things going on with the election. So I think being open minded has been really important for everyone on the team, but also it all really tested our mental toughness throughout the year. So that's what we need to continue doing for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and another thing that impressed me about your team so far this year was the performance from your freshman class. Jenna Habish got a hat trick, and Catherine Stockdale got her first goal this year as well. What have you thought of their play so far, and how have they adapted to the new team, and what have you tried to done to help their transition to college hockey?
Mhm. Yeah, they've done a great job. They fit in really well with the team, off the ice, and then also they're all very, very fast players. So they're a really great addition to the team. They rush the puck up, they move the puck. It's been great so far.
And being an upperclassman, what type of leadership are you trying to bring to the team, and are you more of a vocal leader or a lead by example type of player?
I definitely would say lead by example, mainly because I'm very enthusiastic. I'm kind of the hype person on the team. So as long as I'm staying positive, I hope the rest of my team is just following and doing the same thing.
And you haven't played in front of any fans this year. How have you adjusted to that, and how's your team tried to bring energy on the ice without any crowd noise?
hmm It's been difficult. I think for a lot of teams that did get a season this year, it's definitely been different. Usually we have like other athletes coming to support us or just our families being in the background. But um, we kind of just need to bring it on the bench, and we all know in the back of our heads that we're the ones that are playing. So we got to find the fire in ourselves to do so.
And you've also been a part of a 3-on-3 overtime this year, which is a new rule in college hockey. It's so much fun to watch it as a fan, but what's it like to be in that as a player, and especially
Hmm.
the shootout that you guys had against Providence earlier in the year?
Definitely different. I've always loved 3-on-3 though because I love to skate, so there's a lot more room on the ice to move the puck or find your teammates in seams and stuff like that. So I've actually really liked playing the 3-on-3 in overtime.
Now, another thing I want to talk to you about is your off season. That was definitely different for all different types of players. How was your off
Hmm.
season this year, and what did you do to prepare for this upcoming year?
I was actually really fortunate being in BC. COVID wasn't too bad. The gym that I stayed at, they were open all summer pretty much, and I know a few of the UConn guys or people coming in, and I know Carter Berger is also at the same gym I work out at. We've been really fortunate to have our trainer train us throughout the summer, so nothing too much changed for me there.
Yeah, so no like adjustment to training because I know here in the US a lot of gyms were closed or you had to do individual workouts. Was there any adjustment in
Hmm.
Canada or kind of just the same as usual?
For me, it was the same as usual, but I know a lot of my American teammates had to like train in their garages or do body weight type of stuff just because they didn't have the equipment to do so. But I was really lucky to have my gym open, and at least in small groups, it was at first 2 or 3 people to train with me. So that was nice.
Was it hard to find ice time as well, or was that easy for you to find as well?
Ice time was the only thing that was a bit more difficult. I think the rinks were only limited to a max of like five, and it was kind of split. Like you could have one half of the rink, and another group would have the other half. And obviously, there was no contact, and you had to wear masks to the ice and back and everything. Same kind of gist that we're doing right now. But yeah, ice was a little bit more difficult. It was a little less time on the ice for me this summer. I was more focused on training in the gym, but yeah, there's always alternatives. Find a way to bike around Vancouver and hike and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Now, you mentioned how you had to wear a mask on the ice. Has that been an adjustment for yourself? Because playing hockey, it's very hard to do conditioning drills with a mask on. Have you had to adjust to
Hmm.
that at any point during the year?
Yeah, that was definitely the biggest adjustment I would say on the ice and just conditioning wise. Um, it was tough to breathe for the first little bit, but then your body starts to get used to it. So now that we got these CCM masks that kind of go over the chin part, so it's a little easier to breathe. I personally don't use them, but I think the rest of the team does, so I that's been pretty helpful for them.
Now, I want to talk about the beginning of your hockey career. You're from Vancouver, like you just mentioned. Talk about growing up there and how did you start playing hockey?
Hmm. Um, yeah, growing up's been awesome in Vancouver. I mean, I still live there. I get excited to go back every time. There's lots of things to do outdoors, and even like just the culture in Vancouver is awesome. So I'm excited to go back whenever I get the chance. And starting hockey was, I believe it was my first Canucks game. My dad took me when I was like 4 years old, and I just was like, wow, I was amazed from everything that was going on in front of my eyes.
Now, who was your favorite player growing up? Was it someone on the Canucks like the Sedin twins or Ryan Kessler?
Yeah, I would definitely say the Sedin twins, Ryan Kessler, and then when I was young, it was Marcus Naslin for the longest time.
Yeah, the
Hmm.
Washington Canucks growing up, they were a very interesting team because being from Boston, the Stanley Cup final that year was really awesome to watch.
Yeah,
And that team was very
yeah,
good with the Sedin twins, and just the hatred between Boston and Vancouver was, as a fan, just amazing
hmm
experience.
yeah. Very exciting when they came by. It was a big rivalry, so that was fun to watch.
Now, before UConn, you played for the Pacific Steelers in the JWHL. Talk about your experience there for a little bit.
Hmm. So I started in grade 11, but I did know Jeff from before just because we had spring training camps, and I played spring hockey with him as well. So we had a good relationship growing up. And then finally got into my Pacific years with him and Dana, and Danica was also on my team, and Alex, who's at BU now. So I think there's a few um, from that organization that went on to play with me or plays in Hockey East now. So yeah, we've had a pretty good program and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and how did playing for the Pacific Steelers help prepare you for college hockey?
hmm Being a travel team, we were always on our toes and always had to be ready academically. When we got back, it was always exams, homework, and that type of thing. So I think knowing how to time manage at school and hockey, being on the road, I think that really prepared me for college because it's kind of like the similar gist and routines.
Yeah, and like you just mentioned earlier, you got to play with Danica Pascua with the Pacific Steelers. What was it like to play with
hmm
someone from juniors all the way to college hockey? And what's she like as a teammate? Because in my opinion, she's one of the most underrated players in college hockey.
for sure. She's extremely fast. She's always been super supportive with the puck on the ice, and even off the ice, she's always been a supportive person. So I'm really fortunate to have her alongside me in juniors, and then all 4 years of NCAA. So that's been nice because it's always a comfortable feeling to have someone that you know going through your journey. So yeah.
Now, speaking of your recruiting process, what was that like for yourself, and why did you end up choosing to go to UConn?
hmm So that was a I say girls hockey starts really early for the recruiting process. So I think it was about grade 8 or 9 I started getting my first contact with schools, and then leading on to 10 was kind of where I started to choose, and then 11 I chose UConn just because I knew Danica was going there, and I know people from our program had also been there, like Leah Lum and Leona Sim. So I had that comfortable feeling again where wherever I went, it was always going to be an experience, but UConn just had that like family feel for me.
Now, being from British Columbia and going all the way to the East Coast, how did you adjust being far away from home for the very first time?
hmm to be quite honest, I was excited to leave home and try something new. The only thing that I didn't like though is the weather. I think that's the biggest adjustment for me so far.
Yeah, it can definitely get cold, especially in January and February. It's tough to get by, but well, the summer I feel
hmm
like is very nice up in Connecticut.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Now, speaking of the coaching staff, what's it like to play under Coach McKenzie, and how has he helped your hockey development throughout college?
Mhm, mhm. Mac is very unique. He's super fun, and he really does just love all of us. So, whenever we're on the ice, he just wants the best for us and always is telling us um, how we can improve and what we can do to be better. So, he's been really awesome.
Now, during your freshman year, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make to your game? Was it the mental side, making quicker decisions with the puck, or was it more just the physicality, playing against players that were 4 years older than you were?
Mhm. I think it was the physicality for me mainly because I'm not very tall and I'm also just not a big player. So having that a little lesser amount of experience in the league, I needed a little time to adjust to players that had been like training with college players for 4 years and had just been in the gym doing routines that I wasn't quite used to. So that was the biggest adjustment for me was the physicality of it.
Who helped you the most when it came to your transition to college hockey? Was there any particular upperclassman that took you under your wing, or any coach in particular?
Um, I would say Casey's done a great job of the little techniques and skills that's been um, helped me improve on my blue line and my offensive, and even just like mentally knowing when to jump up in the play. Like I said earlier, we do video and we pick out 3 things after each at the end of the weekend that I think I can improve on for the following weekend, and he's just been really good for me physically and mentally.
Now, in your freshman season, you lost to Boston College in the quarterfinals. What did you learn from that series that helped you for your sophomore year?
hmm Um, yeah, that was definitely tough. I still have a little deja vu sometimes when I go to the Conti Forum. So every time we're there, it just makes us more excited and more hungry for the puck. But I would definitely say experience again. I think I've improved every year, so just having that experience is a big thing for all of us.
Now, in your sophomore year, your team improved a lot, but unfortunately, you lost 3 straight games before the Hockey's playoffs. What was the message heading into the playoffs after that tough stretch to end off the year?
hmm I think we needed to reset mentally. Um, it's always a long year for hockey players or just hockey players in general. I think we have the longest season in all of college sports. So the big thing would definitely be the mental game and just making sure we reset and we remember how we feel from that last season and how hard it is to have losses like that. But it makes us fired up for the following season and what we can do next.
Yeah, you got revenge against Boston College your sophomore year. Talk
Hmm.
about that quarterfinal series. You lost the first game, but then proceeded to win the next two games, allowing only just one goal. What was it like to win that series and move on to the semifinals?
Yeah, that was definitely huge for us. It was a nail biter for sure, but we all just plugged in and we were ready to go and we were excited that Nat got that final game winner and it was huge. So we were all fired up and we ended up making it to the finals that year. It
Yeah, and
was
talk about
awesome.
the play by your goaltender, Morgan Fisher, during that series, because that really stood out to me because she really kept you guys in the game throughout the entire series.
Morgan played awesome that series. She was really consistent, made huge saves that I don't think other goalies would have been able to make. So we were really lucky to have her as our sixth defenseman back there. Definitely for me, it's been huge when you have a goalie that you know has your back if something goes wrong. But yeah, it's been really nice.
And then you went on to play New Hampshire in the semifinals. What challenges did they bring, and how did you end up trying to beat them and move on to the Hockey East finals?
hmm New Hampshire had a really fast roster that year, from what I remember. We haven't played them yet this season, but they had a few really fast players. So I think matching speed with theirs was something that we focused on, and being confident going into our series was a big key thing for us.
Now, you unfortunately lost in the Hockey East championship game. What did you take away from that whole game, and how did that experience help you for this year, especially the way you lost?
Yeah, definitely a tough one. Again, Northeastern's always been top ranked and up there on the scoreboard. So we really need to key in and be confident next time we play them. I think the big thing was we let them into our mental game and it affected us a little bit. But after that experience, I think we know how to deal with the next game coming forward.
You get the chance to play with Natalie Snodgrass, who's probably one of the best players in Hockey East, in my opinion. What's it like to play with
Hmm.
her? And we had her on the podcast one time. She's so nice,
Yeah.
and she seems like a great teammate. And that shootout goal she
hmm
scored against Providence was very awesome to watch as well.
Yeah, she's awesome, super crafty on the ice, very powerful on the ice. Yeah, a lot of kids that I know I've played with that play on other teams always say, "Oh, that Nat girl, she's definitely really good on your team. She knows where to be and where to put the puck when you need it, and she can take the puck herself." So we're really fortunate to have her on the team. She's been huge leader and a big key role for our roster.
Now, going back to this season now, what are some positive and negative things you've took away from your first few games, and how are you going to use them for the rest of the season?
hmm Positives, I would say we had a lot of good chances. I think the beginning of the year we couldn't figure out how to score, as like you saw on the stats there, but we found a way. A lot of drills doing 2-on-0s, 2-on-1s, that type of things from Mac have been beneficial for us, and now we're starting to score goals and it's being showcased in the stats and on the ice. But I would say negatives, honestly, not too many negatives because I think we've kept an open mind throughout this COVID season. We know that whatever happens, happens. You just bring your A game whenever you can and whenever you get the chance to play. So that's been huge.
Yeah, your team's been fun to watch, especially in Hockey East, beating BU. You guys gave Providence a good run for their money and winning in the
hmm
shootout, and then you obviously played well against Merrimack. So it's as a fan, it's been fun to watch. So I hope you guys have continued success throughout the rest of the year.
hmm Thank you.
Now we're now in the non-hockey segment of the podcast. My first question is: Connecticut is obviously known for its pizza. So who has the best pizza in Connecticut, in your opinion?
um, I think I'm gonna have to stick to my roots and say Blaze, just because it's on campus and you can choose pretty much whatever you want, however you want. So I'm gonna stick with that.
I think Carter Turnbull said that as well, so I might have to try it out. I've never been there before.
Yeah,
Now the
definitely a
dairy
good spot.
Now the Dairy Bar is obviously a fun ice cream place to visit on UConn. What is the best ice cream flavor at the Dairy Bar?
Ooh, that's a tough one. They make really good flavors. So I'm gonna go with crunchy coffee. They have this coffee ice cream that's amazing, and it has these little coffee bites in it. So it's like when you bite into it, it just has that like espresso taste, and I love that. So I'm gonna go with coffee, coffee ice cream.
I'm more of a cookie dough guy, but I have to try that
Hmm.
coffee someday. Now, Jonathan the Husky is obviously a huge star on campus. He has a lot of followers on the Instagram. Have you ever met
Hmm.
him before, and what's he like as a dog? Because he seems cool.
Quite a few times. Yeah, we see him walking around sometimes. His owner's got to take him for a walk around UConn campus, and sometimes we'll stop the car and get out and give him a little pet. He's been awesome. He comes to the basketball games, shows up to whatever athletic or academic events we have. So he's a big school spirit for us.
That's awesome. Now, I want to ask you some questions about some of your teammates. Who's the funniest teammate on UConn?
I'm gonna go with Siobhan, but everyone's pretty funny.
Now, who has the best style, in your opinion, on the team?
Ooh, gonna go with Danica.
Now, what music do you like to listen to before a game, and which arena has the best warm-up mix, in your opinion?
Mm, Best rank with a remix would be BC has a pretty good remix, but we haven't heard too many others this season. And then, sorry, what was your other question?
Oh, just what music do you like to listen to before a game, or just in general, I guess?
Pretty easygoing. I would say hip hop or pop, right? Whatever's on the radio, and we'll throw in a remix with that.
Nice. Now, the last non-hockey question I want to ask you is if you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
Anyone in the world? Ooh, I'll go Serena Williams for that.
Nice. She's
Yeah.
obviously one of the best athletes in the world, so that'll be interesting conversation to have and see what she's
Mhm.
experienced in her athletic
Mhm.
career.
Mhm. For sure.
Now, back to some hockey questions now. What do you think should be done to help grow the women's game, especially being a student athlete at UConn?
Yeah. I think continuing to do what we're doing, voicing our opinions, and showcasing that, women can pretty much do whatever the men can do. So I think continuing to do that is a good step forward for us.
Now, is there any advice you give someone who's currently in the recruiting process right now? What advice would you give them to help them achieve their D1 college hockey dreams, I guess?
Hmm. Work hard, never give up, and stay open minded. That's going to be a big thing, especially this year. I think the recruiting class is going to change a little bit, but stay optimistic and continue with your dreams and whatever you have planned.
Now, what should I do better as an interviewer to improve this podcast to make this platform better?
I think you're doing a great job so far. You added the hockey essentials and the non-hockey essentials. To be quite honest, I think you're doing a great job. I don't have anything that I don't think you can improve on. So
Thank you. I
I don't know
appreciate
what to
that.
say. No
No, I just like
problem.
to ask the question just to help myself and help the podcast get better. But I appreciate the kind words. It really means a lot to me.
No
Now, is there any
problem.
shout outs you'd like to give to any of your teammates, family members, or friends you have on campus?
Shout out to UConn Athletics. Thank you for letting us play this season. And thank you to my family. Thank you to my friends. And that's about it. Thank you to my teammates and everyone else at UConn. That's been huge for my journey and experience. I've appreciated it a lot.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Cameron. I really appreciate it. I wish you all the best for this upcoming season. And you're one of my favorite players to watch in Hockey East. And I just want to let you know that. So it really means a lot coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Take care and stay safe and have a great rest of your day and have a
You
good holiday
too.
as well.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.